All right, it's Black History Month, the first Sunday of the month. We are discussing family history, exploring the Great Migration with Mrs. Sandra Kamuyu. I believe you're a retired teacher. Are you from this area originally?
Well, I'm sort of from this area originally, yes. And yes, I am a retired teacher. Um, I was actually born in Birmingham, Alabama, but grew up in what was called the Old Willow Run Village, which was a housing development built by the federal government during World War II. So I grew up in Willow Run, which is I'm still in Willow Run. So I'm living right now, right down the street from where I grew up.
Awesome. So your family came from Birmingham, Alabama, up to Willow Run, Michigan. Can you tell us what the Great Migration was and when it happened?
Yes, the Great Migration happened around 1915, and it lasted about 6 decades, sort of ending in the 1970s. And it was a time when African Americans were leaving the South silently, many times under cover of darkness, because it wasn't the easiest thing to do, but they were leaving the South, coming north, and many came to places like Chicago, Detroit, New York, and places like that, and some even went to places like California.
Awesome. So what led people to decide to leave where they were and come up north?
Because at that time, it was very, very difficult in the South. People wanted to be free. They wanted to live in dignity. They wanted to be able to go to any store they wanted to and go in the front door of the store. They wanted to be able to sit on the streetcar or the bus in any place that they wanted to sit. They wanted to be able to go into theaters and not go and sit in the balcony, not go in the back door. So they wanted freedom like all the other people they saw around them having freedom. African Americans wanted to be free. And they wanted better jobs, better living, better education.
All right, so more autonomy within their freedom.
Exactly.
Okay. Can you tell us about your family specifically? Any stories that you have during that time?
Yes. My parents came, they were part of that Great Migration. They came in the early 40s. My father was a veteran. He had been in the Navy, and he came to Michigan on the GI Bill and went to University of Michigan. And my mom came, and she was a housewife at first, but after many years, she started working at the University of Michigan. But even before my parents came, my grandmother's sisters and brothers, one brother, all came to Chicago. They all lived in Chicago, and a couple of them eventually migrated to California. A story that's told in our family is that my mother's oldest brother, my uncle, the day after he graduated from high school, he got on the first bus leaving Birmingham, Alabama, and came up to Chicago. And he hated Birmingham. He said he never wanted to live there again because he didn't like the way Black people were treated. And he never did live there again. And he was like most of the people who came north, came for a better life and for freedom and dignity.
Yeah, okay. So then did people often go back south to visit their families who were still there?
People went back. I can remember as a child going to Birmingham to see my grandmother, going to Georgia to see my stepfather's mother, but we didn't go often. And when we went, it was a big deal. My mom packed a big basket of food and water and stuff to drink, and we didn't stop. We didn't stop like people stop now and just sightsee a little bit. We went straight because it wasn't a very pleasant climate, and people were still quite a bit afraid, and we weren't welcome.
Mhm.
you know, various eating places. So you didn't stop for food or anything. You stopped for the restroom, and in a certain gas stations. And I can remember my mother teaching us about, telling us that we would see signs, white only, black only. And I remember distinctly the first time I drank from a fountain that said colored only.
It's interesting hearing that because nowadays or today, you think about road trips as a fun thing all around, like the trip to your destination, you want to stop and maybe sightsee and things like that. But definitely didn't think about how dangerous that could be for Black
Yeah.
people traveling south.
It
Um,
was a little dangerous.
yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to pivot just a little bit. So people often mispronounce Ypsilanti. Um, I know how it's pronounced because I've lived here pretty much my whole life.
Mhm.
But does the city have another name by
Yeah.
chance?
Of course, Ipsy is short for Ypsilanti, but another name that was often used when, especially when I was a child, was Ipsy-Tucky. It was called Ipsy-Tucky because it was just almost like being in Kentucky, because there were so many people from the South and especially from Kentucky that they started calling Ipsy, jokingly, Ipsy-Tucky.
I love that. All right. Well, thank you for taking this time with us. Do you have any closing insights that you'd like to share?
Yes, yes, I do. I want to plug a book. I don't have any interest other than that this is an excellent book. It's called The Warmth of Other Suns, and it's a book about the Great Migration. And I think every young person and adult who is interested should read that book and find out about that journey that our parents and grandparents took from the South to the North, and what an experience it was. It was not easy. And the other thing is I would like to encourage all parents and grandparents to talk with your grandchildren and your children about your history, because we have a rich history in our own communities. We don't have to go very far to find rich, interesting history. So the only way we will know that we have a history is we have to be told. We have to learn from someone. And if we're a little child, we can't do major research, but your parents can talk to you. So talk to your children.